So just kind of tinkering around. I'm playing around with the idea of instead of using like the built-in AI chat, if I could do it like within the, I guess, the tag field system, so that we could better run commands on individual portions of the chat. Because right now we can't run commands like within a conversation. So just kind of tinkering around with that. But yeah, if you have any questions on general Tana stuff, definitely happy to go off on tangents here.
Yeah, for the chat specifically, I haven't been able to output to anywhere specifically. I have had some luck with the SKI non-streaming. Then I could output the result of the prompt into a field or a node or somewhere that I wanted, but then I don't have the ability to iterate over the same prompt. But if it's a one-off thing that you want to execute and output to a node or use a specific field from a super tag, you could pass that field as the context for the SKI non-streaming command and output that to a specific field as well.
Yeah, what do you mean about you haven't been able to iterate?
Because you send the prompt, it executes and then outputs. The chat experience, you can send multiple prompts in a same session. You understand? Because it is exactly a conversation you are having with the LLM. And when you use the SKI command, it sends the prompt and you get the output. You can send another prompt after that.
But see, that's what I'm working on here. Is what I'm planning on doing is you can combine the input and the out and the response into a tag and then send a search node in the subsequent one. So it mimics. I mean, I'm assuming that's what a chat would do, is that you're giving it the history of the conversation. The only problem with that is that the history is going to get too long. So that's why I want to include some sort of layer of summarization that it could update. So then each time you send a new response, it gets your current question and the history of the conversation, or the summary of the conversation. So that's what I mean by
got it.
Yeah, that's why I mimic, like, it's kind of like parsing out what the AI chat does, but in the field stuff. So then maybe we can run commands on individual portions of it, instead of right now just the only thing you could do commands on with the AI chat is the entire conversation. So I'm like, okay, what happens if I split it up and then go from there. So that's why I'm just kind of building from scratch, and I already have some existing stuff in my personal space. I'm like, I'll just try building something from scratch, see what I come up with. So let's see. Right now I got some sort of chat input. Response field is just, it takes the chat input and the summary of the conversation. Just, says, please respond. I don't know. I put agent identity there. I might play around with that, but now I just want to do like, all right, summary of conversation. So please summarize. This is what I'm wondering, is if I could feed the existing summary of the conversation to itself. So I could test this out. Let's say I put in this, please summarize this conversation so far. Input, response, or I should say latest input, latest response. And please update the summary of this conversation. So so what do you primarily use Tana for?
I use it for work mostly. I'm trying to do more in my personal life, but I have been using it for like almost 3 weeks only, and
Okay.
trying to get into the more advanced and fun stuff. Right now, the idea that I think it will be my weekend project is using the API for the project management tool that we use at work to pull the user stories and tasks that are assigned to me, and then reference the ID of these tasks to maybe update them with a command from my Tana, so I don't have to be opening the page for that, because their interface is kind of clunky and it loads slowly. And for some security reasons, every time you open a tab, it has to re-authenticate. So using the API, I can emit a token that will allow me the context to interact with specifically this part of the project management without giving it access to the sensitive stuff that is stored there. And I think that would be cool and make my life a lot easier as well.
So use like make.com or Zapier. Is that how you're
Not
looking
yet.
to do the?
The project management tool has an API in of itself,
Oh,
so I think I won't be needing a third party for that.
Hmm.
The idea is using make API requests to pull the information, because it has support for sending the payload that I want as a data field in a simple core request. So I just had to tinker on how I will manipulate the query language that the tool uses to interact with that and make specific commands to update the tasks. But I haven't fully fleshed the idea yet. I actually just thought of it a few hours ago.
oh. Yeah, that's just tricky right now with the Tana API. It's tough to parse things. You have to use AI prompts to parse like JSON or HTML that you get back, and it's like that's not that's not a clean way to do it. Versus like I dabbled with a couple automations in Make, and you've got lots of different options for iterating over like JSON structure and stuff just to get the specific data that you need.
I might actually get around that, because since it's a simple API, I could use, a local Python script and run a container. The
Oh,
script parses and outputs ton of paste. Then from the input, I craft a payload using the ID of the task that I will save on the dashboard and make the post from my container to the project management tool. Should be fun. I have started actually doing the beginning of that without actually having the full-fledged idea. I just wanted to see if I would be able to pull the tasks from the API, and I cobbled together with Claude some Python script to pull the tasks, and it serves that as an endpoint that spits out the Tana-based formatted fields that I want from the tasks. And I could just copy that and paste into my Tana, and it worked. So I just would need to make a API request, and it would get the Tana paste directly from my script there. So I just would need to have the container running, and that would be it.
Interesting.
And avoid having another subscription, because considering that my local currency is kind of weak.
Where are you from?
I'm from Brazil.
Right on.
And the dollar is almost 6 to 1. So,
oh yeah.
Yeah. Now I'm already paying for Tana Pro, so having to pay for Zapier or Make on top of that
Yeah.
starts to get a little overwhelming pretty quickly.
Right on. What sort of project management stuff are you doing? Software or?
Yeah. It's Azure DevOps.
Okay. So that's that you'd be pulling in from Azure, is what you're saying? Like tickets in there.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's not the Azure portal, the cloud solution itself. They have a separate offering for the enterprise business thing that is a mishmash of GitHub and other project management things. So you have pipelines, repositories, and have this project board thing that it's a bit more complex, and it has a few extra features on top of something like GitHub projects, or similar to Linear or a tool like that it's fully integrated into the ecosystem, so you can have the same authentication for everything.
Hey, how's it going?
Hi, how are you?
Pretty good. We're just we were chatting about doing integrating Azure related stuff with Tana, pulling that in. So I'm curious to go deeper into like how to run a local container, you called it, like with the API stuff. But
Python has the fast.
Just wanted to run a quick up, and then like here in Tana, I was just messing around with this kind of like breaking down the AI chat feature, but doing it with fields. So then fields and tags maybe, because right now we can't run commands on like a full AI chat conversation. So I'm like kind of dissecting it and seeing if there's another way to approach it that could lead to some interesting results. So kind of multitasking, freestyling. But then yeah, if you have any questions on Tana stuff, we could dive into that as well. Sorry to interrupt, Marcos, but yeah, can go into either.
No, yeah, I completely derailed your.
Oh no, that's what I'm very much like branching, holding like multiple different paths in mind at the same time. So yeah, I don't know. Sorry, is it Celine or Celine? I don't know.
It's Salan. Yeah.
Salan. Okay. Did you have any I guess off the top Tana questions, or just poking into observe?
I have a couple, but I'm more of a beginner, so I don't want to interrupt what you do.
No, I'd rather go into beginner stuff, because this is just like, I don't know where this is going to lead to. This is just me freestyling off the top. So if you have any, be curious to hear what questions you got.
Okay, I can ask one. I posted a question to beginners channel on Slack about how to impose structure on in sentences. Like I'm all comfortable with concepts and etc. I branched off from the concepts, super tag. I created brain regions, frameworks, etc. etc.
We were chatting in the DMs with the Rome research stuff.
Yeah, but like I said, Rome research is a subset of Tana, so I came up with a pretty solid structure so far. So I want to continue on Tana.
Right on. Yeah. I saw that chat you mentioned with the kind of like what sort of schema to go about. I'm not sure. I'm curious what that approach is that you had. One thing that I did a while back was I guess the field of semantics. Just took really just one piece of that, the idea of a proposition, and I have a YouTube video on that. I could drop it in the chat, and like I did a little kind of schizo Twitter thread on the topic as well. But I was using that as like a way to parse conversations where a proposition is the simplest statement of meaning. So like
Yeah.
a sentence with as few words as possible that capture meaning. So like if I'm riffing off the top like a paragraph about something, I could feed that to my system and it parses out all the individual statements, and then from there I have something I could then feed into later AI and say, okay, like cluster these together by similar relation or so on and so forth. But that's what you look like you're getting into more, I don't know, it's like argument, claim, fact, data sort of thing.
Yeah, I didn't want to implement such rigid structure because I think it makes everything more mechanic, and I don't like it. I wanna keep a place for exploration. Actually,
Have you used just like, I don't know, ChatGPT, Claude, anything of that nature regularly?
yeah, I use ChatGPT, but from its website, I didn't integrate any AI agents into my Tana workspace yet.
Yeah, Tana has built-in AI chat stuff. I don't think it's quite to the level of ChatGPT right now. But as far as like fluidity, I find just having like less structured conversations a lot easier with ChatGPT, especially if you turn on like stored memory. It can kind of update itself in a more, I guess, fluid, organic sort of. I guess that's kind of what I'm playing around here with this little chat thing. Whereas Tana, I think like the medium is the message, like the field tag sort of thing. It kind of pushes towards some sort of more rigid structure. You know, there's fluidity within that, but definitely pushes towards like parsing things out into individual components at some level.
Can you send your YouTube video you mentioned?
Yeah, that's what I got a side window right now. I'm looking at, see if I could find the thing on semantics and the thing on, yeah, the YouTube video as well. I should probably just use the search feature. Semantic. Yeah. Okay. Copy link. Where is chat? All right. There's the Twitter thread. That's like something else I need to do is just collect everything in one content space that I could point people towards. Oh, because I got stuff scattered everywhere related to Tana. There we go.
Deep structure and surface structure. I saw it before.
Oh, of like deep structure, surface structure of meaning analysis in
Yeah.
sentences.
Yeah.
Yeah, gosh, it brings up another topic I was like digging into yesterday. On saw this cool blog post on it was talking about what is your, oh yeah, like noticing your layer of abstraction, which is like, it's like a massive thinking rabbit hole for me.
No, that's interesting. Noticing your level of abstraction.
Yeah, so it was talking about, I think it was the guy used it in relation to his job search, where like he ended up starting up like engineering companies in throughout Southeast Asia. I think specifically like Vietnam, he started little managing engineering teams. And like when he was first starting out, he wrote this whole blog post on like how Asia is the future of engineering, and he had all these premises within there. And he's like, he looks back on it now, he's like, this blog post was awful because it was too high a layer of abstraction. He's like, yeah, things are moving towards Asia, but like all my points were not correct. He's like, what actually affected my engineering teams had more to do with local economies and the specific types of engineering niches that they were in versus like the broad spectrum of global shifts. Since we were saying like
Do you know about
go ahead.
Do you know about Marr's levels of analysis?
Marr's levels of analysis.
Yeah, it's used in
No.
neuroscience mainly, but refers to something similar.
So it's like a framework for analyzing things, or?
Yeah, it brings a perspective to explanations, like which level of explanation, mechanistic, or I forgot. Sorry. Like
Okay.
I wrote on the chat.
Sweet. Can I not trigger my? There we go. Sweet. Quick ad. Let's see. Cool. Yeah, I'll dig into that. But yeah, going back to your original about like structuring stuff like that, I'm tempted to just go to ChatGPT or Claude first to kind of see what suggestions would come up there. As far as like, I'd probably say like, give me a schema or an ontology for mapping out that. Although I guess to plug another Tana consultant, I got access to Tana One, Nick Strategic Design. You probably see him you'll see him throughout Slack. He's got this super cool tool. Let's see. I want to do to be consulting. Yeah, he's playing around with a self-constructing Tana graph agent. So like I gave it a chat earlier today where I was just like, give me I said just like give me a method for analyzing investments, and it returned this whole thing, all these tags, this field structure, sample data with filled out stuff. Like this is next, like this is the future of Tana type stuff is prompts that build out the graphs themselves. So yeah, this is my literally just one sentence I gave this agent. I'll see if I can test it again. Why not? Build with TC. Command clicked it. I don't know. Yeah. So what were you saying? Like, give me a structure for analyzing sentences, paragraphs. I don't know what readings,
Arguments,
essays,
data. Yeah.
Arguments, data, etc. I don't know. Anything else you want to add? Like any sort of the purpose of it, or what
Can
you're hoping to?
Can you add explanation also? I think it might it might make a difference.
Okay. Oh, looks like we got someone else. Oh, speaking of, here's Nick. Oh, that's super cool. Damn. That's hilarious. See, wait for you to pop in. Dude, literally talking about you.
Oh yeah?
About to run an example of your chat system here, because we were talking about breaking down like sentences, structures, like the arguments, things like that. And we're kind of thinking like, well, what would the schema be? And I'm like, there's this cool fucking tool. Let's try it out. That's what I'm just
Awesome.
go one shot prompt to start and kind of see what happens there. Yeah, I look freaking gives you the markdown. And what I checked too is like it didn't look like it ate up a bunch of credits. Like when I ran it first, I think it was like point. It was like 3.9 cents, almost 4 cents, which is like nothing for a whole freaking.
Compared to Dennis, the Co-pilot is very lightweight. Using Markdown also helps. That's one of the reasons why I did that.
Right on. So yeah, let's see. We'll do another example here. Content. Well, maybe it'll paste it itself. Oh, it does. Okay, sweet. All right, so back that out. And the chat gets stored in old chat. Okay, sweet. So I could close that out too. There we go. Now let's check out content analysis system. So it looks like I messed up the tag. Oh no, there's layers of tags. Interesting.
Yeah.
That's how it's recommending to extend. You can't do tag extensions using paste directly.
You're working with the limitations of Tana paste. Yeah, I can imagine there being a couple pitfalls there. But okay, so extending content into those is what it's suggesting. Element. Okay, so like elements within content, perhaps finding issue, find templates, and like this is one I think Nick I mentioned in the DMs. I was thinking it would be like what text URL. So this is kind of like a bug thing.
Oh, interesting. So break it out like that so that you could reference it that way, or
so then I guess if it was a build with options, it would automatically have all the options then.
oh, because they'd be auto collected.
Yeah, that's what I assume would happen if you have them on separate lines like that. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. But I mean, it's pretty much here. No matter what way, I don't think you could do a build options field with Tana paste. So there would be some manual step. It'd just be like one less.
I tried to find a way. I tried to find like, because it's not completely documented. Sometimes you can discover things that aren't in the documentation, but I found nothing.
Oh. So let's see. It came up with. I love the sample data thing. That's phenomenal, dude. What in the world? All right, social media attention spans. That's the argument. Context. Okay, what's these claims? Primary claim. So yeah, I'd almost imagine these as like maybe with options within a status field is like
Interesting. So that you would be like progressing the same thing from a claim to evidence or from assumption to something else. Is that what you're thinking?
I'm not sure. I'm just looking at what it did here where it's like, all right, it's like claim and then it just says primary claim, where it's like I feel like primary claim would be maybe a status within claim, but then the claim itself would be I don't know. It doesn't. Oh wait, here. Oh, here we go. This would be like the name of the claim. Frequent social media use reduces attention span, and then like what claim status would be like say primary claim. Oh. But it definitely, I mean, just for if you're starting from scratch drafting out a schema, like it's still my
I took your advice. I just finished recording a video walking through a couple of examples, and I did a UX research system, and it did very well.
Hold on. Let's see. Sweet. All right. So yeah, I guess I started off this whole thing with I'm playing around with kind of breaking down the AI chat into like fields. So I was thinking of doing some sort of like logged memory summary comments instead of doing the AI chat where we can't really run commands on individual components of it. Yeah, I was like working on dissecting that. But I see we have a couple, maybe just one other. Carlos, I don't know if you have any questions off the top. Beginner, advanced, intermediate, in between. Yes, no, maybe. Okay.
Just lurking, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Oh, we got. Oh, right on. Sounds good. All right. So I want to pop back to this. So I was looking at feeding the summary back into itself, which I think it does. Yeah. So having like this ongoing summary of conversation, because like right now, if I were just to store, like let's say I tag this chat input, chat output, I don't know. And if it were just to store like a history of the conversation, it gets too long. So you don't want to feed that directly into the chat. So that's why I'm like, all right, let's have a summary of the last question answer with the previous summary and have it build up from there. I don't know. Because then if you had some sort of like, I guess the mainstream of thought here is like ChatGPT collects memory, right? And anyone who uses ChatGPT, you have like the memory feature where it's just a string of text. Like it's just simple bulleted list that it updates over time. But that in and of itself is pretty cool. So I'm like, all right, what would it look like to have a generic chat in Tana that learns things about you and stores up a profile history over time? Some of the limitations, though, is that you have the token context window. So there's only so much information you could feed it at one time. So it would need to be self-update. You have a video about this? Or are you talking about the chat?
Oh no, yeah. Carlos was talking about the UX.
I didn't see that one. I'm like, Nick, what the fuck? drop if you got information about this shit.
As you were talking, I was recording a video.
Fuck, right on.
No, like to build off of what you were saying, like this is a similar thought that I've had. Like, how do we get around context windows and just enormous amounts of stuff? It's also a performance issue, just like in time as well. But yeah, I've been thinking in similar ways of like summary seems to be the best way to get the same content that you want to refer to, but with far fewer tokens. But there could be a danger of like when you make a copy of a copy of a copy, the fidelity loses its trueness.
That's what I was thinking, something along the lines of it's tricky, and we need some solution to like the multi-layered search, the conditional search. But like if I just do like chat input. Okay, actually maybe chat output would be better. Let's do chat output. And then I could say, like let's say I put a field within here that's chat input. And then I say every time that I ask for a response, it takes the input and throws it in the output field. I can make that into a command, but just hypothesizing for now. And then within the summary of conversation prompt, which is what's here on the side. I hate not being able to resize individual windows. Could throw in the search node. Search, convert to search node. Chat output. Okay. Why are you not running? Unless I have to reference it and build it outside and reference it. Maybe that's it. Oh, let's try that. Yeah, we'll reference this there. Now it shows up. Beautiful. So we can see here, when you throw search nodes in prompts, it's only grabbing the first layer. And this can actually be good if you want to save token space. And this is where I was thinking, though, if you throw search nodes within the field expand references, then it shows you what's inside. So now it's showing the chat input field that was within there. So this is what I was thinking of, some layer like multi-layered memory where you could feed the first layer to the chat. And then if you want that fidelity, running it through and expand references. So then it says, oh, if you need more information, grab from this next list down. Okay, grab something that it thinks is related. Okay, if you need more information on this, expand references, grab from the next list down. But that requires some sort of updating search node, which is tricky.
Or some level of logic that isn't currently possible within commands. Some kind of branching logic.
Oh, we got someone else wants to join. Cool. Wish I could have like an auto join thing here. Probably could.
I'm sure there's a setting somewhere.
Yeah, I'm relatively new to this. But yeah, let's see. I'll try and do a summary update. So yeah, talking about this, dissecting AI chat into a field chat that can like summarize the conversation so far and have some sort of log of it. Then we went into not semantic, just like structuring conversations, talking about Nick's tool for auto building schemas and ontologies in Tana. And now I want testing my brain here on summary. Marcos, we were talking about pulling in Azure DevOps tickets into Tana with like what you're talking about, local containers, still like a open thread we could go down. But Jock, I think you just joined. I don't know if you have any questions off the top, or you just came to observe the madness.
You're muted, Jacques.
There we go. Sorry about that. I have maybe a really simple question, so I just thought I'd pop in and ask it.
Yeah, go for it.
I'm a user of Nick's stuff, and I was building something this morning based on Anlor Lecompf's plus minus next sort of concept, So I built, like, she has this sort of weekly review type thing where it's like, okay, what was positive, what was negative, what do you do about it, kind of thing. And I've used that on paper. I thought I'd try to build that in Tana. I was able to build it by building, 3 super tags, one for plus, one minus, one next, making them a list, and then creating cards for each of them so that they show up kind of like a, 3 side by side, which is great. The part I'm not great with is around dates. I'd like to build this so that it happens every Sunday in my day page. That it creates a new version of this every Sunday in my day page. And I find the whole relative date concept and recurringness, it's not something something I'm struggling with. Any ideas?
Yeah, probably a couple. Let's see. Command node. So we got insert relative date. To just do next Sunday.
Even if it was a command that, at the end of every Sunday you click and it creates the new one,
Yeah,
that would be recurring enough.
I think
That would be recurring enough, you said?
That would be enough for me. I do a weekly review on Sundays. So what I don't want is to have last week's stuff in this week, right? Like I don't want it to be cumulative. And right now I can keep making them, but they keep adding to each other. And then I've got the stuff that went right last week, and I don't care about that stuff anymore. I'm moving on.
Okay. I'd have to see the structure. Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. I think, was it Marcos was saying something?
Yeah, the idea that popped into my head is maybe having this structure as a template somewhere on the library or the schema, and the command would insert a clone of these nodes on the template there. Then you add that command to the day page, and after you finish the review, you can click it and it will generate the template again for your next Sunday. Something around those lines.
Yeah.
And whatever search node that creates, I assume it would create a search node as at least part of it. You could reference whatever day page it's on as the parent. So then it would be any relative date searches would be in relation to that date and not like today's date or something. Does that make sense?
Right. That does make sense.
Do you want to share your screen and bring it up?
Sure. Hang on.
It'll probably be the easiest way to go about it instead of hypothesizing without seeing.
I haven't built any of that part yet, but I'll show you what I've got here. Hang on.
I don't know.
Okay, share screen. Poof. Which one do I want? I want Tana. Are you seeing my Tana?
Yeah, it's coming up.
Okay, so this is kind of what I built. So I've got plus, minus, and next. So anything I tag with a plus or a minus or a next shows up here. So structurally,
did you hit Command plus a couple times? It's hard to read.
Small.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Here, I can get rid of this too. So anything I tag with plus, minus, or next shows up here during the week. I just want to be able to generate this every Sunday night.
Shows up where? I'm not.
Well,
I think we might be seeing a different screen than you think you should.
Yeah, we're seeing like your today page planner.
Okay, hang on.
Oh.
That's weird. Present something else.
Okay, there's Tana get started.
Yeah. No, sorry. Having trouble getting it. I got too many tabs and too many things going on here. Let me just.
I feel it. My screen is a mess itself.
No problem. I'll take this opportunity. Carlos, you say you're working on UX research. Are you a designer then? You can talk in the chat. You don't have to try to respond by voice.
Yep, all good. I just wasn't available to really speak earlier. Yeah, I'm a designer. Most of a design researcher really. Past the wireframe stuff, really trying to do more of the qualitative exploration stuff. I'm still sort of new to this field, so that's sort of just a niche I'm carving out at the moment. So yeah, hearing how you use these tools, how it builds it, making the research process, I guess, more efficient would be really helpful.
Cool. Yeah, the video I just recorded, it was using what Mark was showing, and I was surprised at how well it did. And I say in the video that if someone doesn't build that thing in a couple weeks, I will build it myself, because that's how good it, like, it was just the bones, you know, but like once you have a skeleton, you can build whatever you want on top of that.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
Okay, plus minus next.
Yeah, so this is just a structure, right? So it's just 3 different searches being laid out in cards.
Okay.
And so during the week, if something goes right, I just tag it with a plus or with a minus. And then when I do my weekly review, I look at those things and see what can be made better. So all I'm really looking for is to have this. I think Marcos's idea was not a bad one, in the sense, a command that would generate this in a new instance of this every Sunday would work for me. Ideally, it would become searchable by date. That's one of the reasons I was saying kind of relative date would be interesting, is like if I want to go back, oh, I had this issue before, because part of what I'm trying to do too is also have a way to look over time. Are there things that keep going wrong and that I should be fixing, or?
Yeah, I'm imagining, I guess, a couple different ways for it. So just like the plus minus next structure, like I guess it depends where you're putting the dates. Like you could regenerate this, but then you want the search. You're saying that each of those plus minus next to those have dates attached to them at all, or?
Right now they would have their searches, so they don't have a date necessarily.
Yeah,
The
but on
only
the
date they have
search,
is
the items
could
within
have
them.
the
you
items
could
within
have a
them.
filter.
They would be tagged of the day that they were created, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, on the search, you could have a filter for relative date on the last 7 days or so.
Yeah.
On the template that you would use the command to create the review every Sunday.
Right. So I create a command that creates an instance of this with a relative date last 7 days. And that would just
the command would insert this template on your today node.
Okay, then in the
Sunday,
searches.
and in the searches
that
themselves,
makes
you
sense.
could have a filter for the instances of the tag created on the last 7 days.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much. I have to jump off, but this was really helpful. Mark, good for you for doing this. I appreciate it.
Right on.
And Nick, I'm loving Tana One, bud. Good.
Awesome.
All
Thanks.
right.
Cheers.
Bye.
Yep. Cool. All right. Just back into this. So, summary of conversation feeds back into itself, which is cool. I think last time though it made a node, like it nested it. So I just wanted to tell it to just return, like condense in one paragraph. I don't know. We'll see what happens again.
The goal of this is to basically, my understanding is to replicate the chat experience, but inside main Tana, so that you can have access to interactions with commands. Is that, and maybe other stuff?
That's what I'm tinkering with. That's what I'm thinking. It's like something with. It's cool to have like a segmented question answer nodes. So like, let's say you have this history of question answer, you could run commands on those individual ones or filter them in some sort of way. Because again, right now with chat, it's like all we could do is feed in the entire chat. Like there's nothing else we could do as far as running commands on it. So I'm like, what would it look like to do something further? And just this idea of condensed memory appeals to me as well. So it's kind of like a mirage or a collage of a lot of different potentialities. That's just, I don't know. I feel like I need to call this just like, Tana Tinkerer Office Hours, or just straight up just fucking around, seeing what comes out of it. So if you have ideas on like where to point this, I'd be curious. Because like, I really dig the idea of like emergent systems from a I don't know, I guess stupid human standpoint, where like as stupid humans, our inputs and outputs are just like conversation, like we're having right now. That's like the easiest form of like humans, just like we're talking, versus like when we start thinking about actions, notes, tags, and stuff, it's like another level of thinking. So it's like, all right, what would it look like to not even require that? Like that's what I think that's what make Chat GPT such a cool tool, is you could just go in and speak in natural language. So it's like, all right, how do we take advantage of that in a more structured way? Like, what would it look like to have commands in Chat GPT, sort of thing, or more control over the memory? And I guess that's how I think about Tana and the abstract right now. Is like it is like a memory for AI stuff.
Here's an idea.
Yeah.
I think this is maybe kind of branching off of what you were doing, but like, could the agent, whenever you request it, do a quick search node finding relevant commands in the situationally in the conversation? You know what I'm saying?
An agent search node define commands.
Yeah, so like you're talking, and like the agent knows like, oh, he needs to do something. So he runs a search query, a search node for his command, and then matching certain things. And then you're able to, I imagine like next year or some point, Tana will have the capability that the agent could then click it for you. But for now, you can just click the command button.
I mean, I'd be curious, like how you would think about this. I mean, you're talking about you made that, or like it creates its own schema. So I'd be curious, like how you go about like prompting Tana to create its own search nodes. Well, I saw you have that whole history of like the logic of Tana paste. That's foundational.
You would use Tana paste for that for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, man, it's because it's tricky, especially like when you're playing from the idea of emergence, where it's like you don't know the schema up front. It has to build and then learn the schema and use it after it builds it without knowing what it's going to be. It's kind of the frame that I've been playing with. So yeah, delete sex. I'm not moving it out and saving it anywhere. We're just keeping history. It's not saving the previous conversation summary anywhere right now either. So it's a very fragile system, because if you accidentally delete, I hate. How do I get it? Just like.
This is one of the most time-consuming parts of building AI-related things, is just problem solving all of the weird eccentricities that it tries to inject.
Yeah. What was I built a tool for this a while ago. I don't really use it much. What did I call that? It was a loop within Tana where you could put the prompt in a field, get a response, and then you could tell it what was wrong with the response, and it would give you a new prompt and a new example response. So the idea was that it would create prompts itself for you based on your feedback. prompter, maybe? Nope. Oh, it's probably buried on Slack somewhere. It would be like prompt refinement. Oh, I talked about it a couple days ago, but when did I actually build it? God. Prompt. That is not working at all. Oh, geez. All right. I'll think about that later. All right. Let's see if I can get this just to... All right. Only turn the... That's like another funny thing is it's like the pink elephant thing. It's like you don't tell it what you don't want it to do.
Mm.
So it's like instead of don't nest this under a parent node, it's only return the summary.
Yeah.
So
One of my workflows that I do is I will have like a standalone Chat GPT open and ask him like, how would you tell a bot, an agent, to do this? And then sometimes it's weird. You would think that the same technology would be the best for talking with the same technology. Like you're working with a Claude agent, you should talk to Claude. Sometimes ChatGPT knows best how to talk to Claude and vice versa. It just depends.
All right. I feel like I'm capped out with this thread of experimentation for now. I might return to this later. But I guess going back through the whole conversation, Marcus, you wanna go back into we were talking about the container thing of running stuff, API calls locally and stuff like that?
Yeah. The idea that I got this morning was to create somewhat of a personal dashboard for my work tasks. The project management tool that we use called Azure DevOps has an API that I can request to list the tasks assigned to me. They have a custom query language that I can use to run some operations on it. So the idea was to use a separate container to parse the requests in and out of the API. So when I make a call into the container API itself, it would spit out the output in Tana paste, so I could get that into my today page and then have commands assigned to each of the tasks imported by it that I could change some fields into them and then run a command that would query with a post into my container that uses the token to update the tasks there. I've managed to get the first part of querying and outputting the list into Tana paste. Making the request from Tana to that endpoint was failing, but maybe something on how the client from Tana expects the output from there. So I would have to debug a little bit from importing that that output from my container there. But the idea is having this being automatically imported into my today page every day, because there are a few friction points for me from that, because the portal for the tool itself is a little slow because there's a lot of data from many projects. So naturally it takes a little bit to load. But the implementation itself, the site loads slowly, and there are some requirements for every time you open a tab, you have to confirm the authentication. So I can use a personal token with scoped access to just the definition of the user stories to query and update them to speed up my day-to-day handling these tasks from the today page, instead of having to mess around with the board every time. But I just got this idea today because I didn't have the pro tier yet, so I didn't start tinkering with this kind of stuff during the trial. But yeah, I'm fairly new to Tana, and I'm trying to, I don't know, make the workflow a little less. It drags out and it adds up during over time. It adds up having to wait these few seconds every time, and for my brain specifically, it makes me not want to open it. So having to update that, I do it in batches, so it piles up and I have to refer back like a week or two to keep updating this kind of stuff. I mean, the specific point is putting the hours completed, because it's somewhat of a consulting gig, so it's tied to billing. So making is easier and faster would make my life a lot better. But the client for making API calls, it's kind of limited on how to parse this kind of things. That's why I thought of using a separate container to doing the middleman job there, and avoid sending this kind of data to another party just for parsing the data.
Yeah, so that's what I'm curious about. I don't know enough about what is like Docker container. You're running that locally, or like what? I don't think I know enough about containers and how those function.
It's a tool that it creates a micro environment, like it was a single purpose computer that runs specific code that I tell it to, and it acts as a web server that when I hit that endpoint, then it calls the Azure DevOps API using my token, and it gets the output, makes the parsing for the fields that I want from the tasks, and it answers me with this data formatted in Tana paste. So the first step would be, when I do this API call from Tana in that endpoint, it would just get the Tana paste data and create the tasks for me there. But then I would have an issue with duplicated items on my page, because every time I make that request, it would create a new instance of these.
I guess if you grab the ID, I would imagine there's some sort of ID associated with either the data you're grabbing, or there's definitely IDs associated with the data in Tana. I guess the question there is then how to.
Yeah, then I would have to
like, we
have
don't-
somewhat of a database attached to my container that I would query for the ID to see if I have already imported that or not, to avoid pulling duplicated tests for that dashboard.
Yeah. Nick, like with the input API, I'm pretty sure we could just send stuff to the inbox right now, right? Like we can't like update specific nodes.
You can target specific nodes. They just can't be relative nodes like days or something like that. But if you have the ID of a node, you can send it to any particular node.
With the input API, we could. Huh.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, then I could create that structure in specific node and have a search that shows me that on the today page and interact specifically with those nodes that would be the dashboard itself.
Well, the one tricky part I can imagine would just be like getting the data out of Tana. Then, like, I feel like you'd have to do a manual process for that, even if it like you're inputting to a specific node, but then getting that structure, if it's already saved in Tana, just getting that out, you'd have to do like a make API request, which involves some sort of manual command.
Yeah, but the make API request from Tana doesn't support that me doing a post, so I could have the data. I just have to format the quest there to.
It does support posts.
Yeah, then I would have a command attached to the instance of a task.
Yep.
They would be a super tag specifically for each kind of user story or task specifically.
Yeah.
So the command would get the ID from that, and I would format a request. In the payload, I would reference the ID and query the DevOps API for updating it there.
Yep. The only part that I think is kind of tricky is like, let's see, you're grabbing your whole, history of stuff you have in Azure, whatever. But then knowing the whole history of stuff you have in Tana, there's no way just to automatically grab that. Like you would need at least one button there to like say send history of all Azure nodes. So then you could compare the IDs, like you're saying, all right, only bring in what I don't have yet. There's no way.
Yeah, that's what the database would be for. Yeah. I don't know, using SQLite to save the nodes that I have already pulled from Azure DevOps and say, yeah, that's already on Tana. So when I would make a call for that, it could compare if there was any update, and if it was updated, then I would have to update the fields for that. Updating fields specifically, I don't think it's available in an automated fashion like that, unless I delete and recreate that as a new node with the updated information. I just would need to avoid putting any relevant data into that node and having it be only a reference that I can use specifically to, if I need to update that, then I can change the data there. click the command to send the update, but when I make a request to get new info from there, if it has been updated by someone else on the team, then it would delete and recreate that with the new information for me.
Puzzles, man. That's what I always find it fun digging into stuff like this, where it's like, damn, like doing this stuff to save time takes time. It's like, fuck. Like, at what point
Yeah,
do
but
you
once
draw
that is up
boundary?
and running,
Yeah.
then it's done. I just had to, I don't know, maybe restart the container if I put the computer in and it fails. And every day I would have that to make my life smoother during the week.
Oh man, there's some sort of
If I take a weekend or so doing that, I don't know. I just had to wrap my head around how to handle these little bits of the logic and putting the pieces together, but it would be mostly a bunch of API calls, basically.
yeah. There's some sort of, I don't think it's a meme per se, but like a diagram. It might be like from like Less Wrong, one of those, like, you know, rationalist blogs sort of things, where it maps out like, all right, how much time do you expect this to save you? This is how much time you should devote to it. And it's like, yeah, it's like a table or chart that goes through that. Like if it saves you like 1 minute every day, then you should devote at most like 1 week to it, or something along the lines of that.
Yeah, but I just would treat this as a weekend project. I don't know, something to tinker. I love this kind of automation stuff. So I mean, I'm a DevOps engineer. It's the kind of stuff that gets me going. So I think it would be fun to just make this go on. And maybe if you guys think about that, I mean, it's kind of a neat idea for busy people that handle many projects. Yeah.
Yeah, this is the one.
This kind of integration with project management thing, I mean, it's probably out of scope for mostly of what you're doing now, but might be something to consider in the far end of your backlog to have this kind of quality of life thing for people that have to bring on data from many different places.
Or even like plugging this sort of logic into like an AI agent. Like, you know, if it's coming up with tasks and ideas for itself, even of like a self-improvement.
Yeah. Assuming
the AI agent knows whether it's even worth it to bother.
Yeah. It'd be interesting.
Knowing if if you need to go through, yeah. But I was speaking specifically of there are people that want to have, I mean, I'm probably not alone in this kind of mentality, but it's not that I want to use Tana for everything, but I would like to have Tana be a place where I can look, and if I need to act into something that is somewhere else, at least I can have this bird's eye view there on my today page. So integrations with project management software to get some basic data for which tasks are assigned to me and a link for that.
Yeah.
So I can click there.
So
and
this actually brings up another tinkering project that I put on the list just the other day. is you aware of the tool called Hookmark?
Nope.
Hookmark allows you to create URLs to all the files that live locally on like your desktop or in your computer.
Oh yeah, I've seen someone say something
So
about
what
that.
I
I
was
just
thinking,
forgot the
because
name.
I was chatting with these people about like, oh, they're like, oh, we have all these, files stored in SharePoint or on our different computers and stuff. And I'm like, oh, it'd be really interesting to run. I'm not quite sure if Hookmark only creates the Hookmark link instantly, or if there's like a continuous logic to it, or a static logic to it, so that you could do a search and say, okay, get me a Hookmark link for everything on my computer, put it into Tana Paste with like a title and like kind of like what you would see in the Finder view of like, this is when it was created, this is the name of it, this is the type of file, and then here's the Hookmark link. Do that for every file on your computer, do an export, put it in the Tana Paste, and bam, paste it into Tana. Now you have a sortable table for all of your local files. Like that, to me, is potentially apeshit. Now, Tana can't read those files.
Yeah, but
like I wouldn't want Tana to be given the
you
current like token
could have
limits and stuff,
Tana as the viewport.
Yeah.
And then you can have inside a project page, a node that you marked with a super tag project, then you can have somewhat of a related content thing that would list all the URLs that are relevant to that. So specific files that you want to use with that project, so you don't have to switch Finder, look for what you're, I mean, even if you use something like Raycast or Spotlight to find the file that you want, even then it is another step that you have to take. But if Hookmark has this local self-updating database, and you could reference that, then you could just have the links that you want to access there. And expanding on that idea, you have this central dashboard that would pull basic information from your project management tool that you have to use for work, because some of us that are interacting in like consulting gigs or companies with specific tools requirements, then you are kind of obligated to interact with the data into their specific tool. So in the Azure DevOps case, I can have a token for that tool, and they have a specific API that I can pull in. I don't know. Maybe I will just simplify the whole thing and just pull the list and have a link for at least I can quickly click directly in the page for the task that I need to interact with. So at least I don't have to open the Azure DevOps, go to the boards view, find the story that I want,
Mhm.
I can at least get from the API all the user stories that are assigned to me, and have that list on my today page. Then I have the name of the task and the link directly into it that I can open to update what I need to update, or check any information that I need to check if I'm waiting on anyone else to update that. Just for having this bird's eye view of my day and what is on my plate, similar to how I can have using Event Link, I can import my calendar appointments. I would have this import list for projects that I have to work on, and be gently reminded of what is on my plate. And from there, I can jump specifically of where I need to go to do the thing.
So you don't use Hookmark currently, Mark?
If I have, it's been a while.
I looked into it a couple different times, but never ended up pulling the trigger.
Yeah, I think it was on my previous MacBook. It died, I think, just about a year ago. So yeah, I think I might have tested out with like Roam Research back when I was using that. But yeah, I haven't updated on this one yet. That's I don't know. It's chewing on that with like, all right, that all your
even
local
if
files.
it's not self-updating, you could have at least this workflow that you can set up for the first time when you are getting ready to run a project or getting this collection of things that you want to sort out into a place for easier access later. You can create these Hookmark URLs and set up your structure there, and every day when you need to go back there and interact with it, you can click the link and go to the file that you need to go.
You know, it's interesting talking about Hookmark and like the software that connects with your local hard drive and everything. Tana mentioned on one of their recent office hours or something how they're starting to work on like Electron type stuff, which is like interacting with your environment on your computer. So there could be things coming in that area.
Yeah, it already has an API to search into your local file system. So you could create those references directly with a command from Tana. Just create a link for a file on my hard drive.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense to move in that because that's what Tana is kind of like. I mean, right now it's just in the browser, but it is like kind of a new user interface for computers, data management. Like instead of like things being in Finder and separate apps and all this stuff for like different, different file types, just trying to integrate it all together in some way. Losing track.
The only problem I have with using LLMs for doing this kind of thing specifically is because they are non-deterministic yet. So
what do you mean by that?
Maybe they work like 95, 98% of the times, but one time that it messes up, it could cause you some grief, especially if it's in an important occasion where you need to quickly do something. So this use case specifically, I don't think it would be a perfect use case to use an LLM to create this, unless you give the list of URLs specifically that it could reference. And if the temperature is low enough, it won't have the urge to mess with the URLs that you pass into it.
Oh no, I wouldn't want it to do the automation part. I'm talking about more like the analysis after you have it in there. Like
but the idea of Tana, I think, by using agents as these entities that interact with your content, is have really an agentic workflow where you can set up it to interact. So having this access to these APIs that can talk to your computer directly for looking for the files that you want to. So the agent would make a search on your hard drive to get files that have names that relate into it and create the links for you. But I mean, it would be an expansion into that when we get to the point that the agents are actually enabled to do agentic workflows in the more common sense use of this expression into the LLM field. because the agents right now are more like similar to cloud projects that you have in specific context window that you pass into it with a prompt that will help it process or act into that smaller context window specifically, but it's text input output, right?
Yeah, just running ChatGPT in a separate window here. Guess it is feasible to automate the entire hook link. Yeah, saying like maybe do an Apple script. Could probably do like a Python script in VS Code. Interesting. All right, I might have to play around with that sometime. Cool. All right. I think getting towards top of the hour. I think I might drop off here soon then. But yeah, it was fun chatting. I don't know. Any final points from either of you guys?
No, I think it was a good idea. If you got time, might as well. And yeah, if you like make an announcement, even just a couple hours ahead of time, you might get some like a lot of maybe too much participation.
Yeah, I think I might play around with that going forward. Like that's what I'm thinking this next month as far as like experiments. I'm like, all right, I think I want to do something with like making more content. Not sure how I want to go about that, but like I like this idea of like just getting in front of people, because when I'm by myself, it's like, well, I could make content on this or that or this. It's like people come in and ask questions. It's like, all right, I know exactly what we're talking about. So yeah, I might play around with that of like, a couple times a week, predetermined hours or switching the hours up, but definitely I'll play around with some more heads up time in front and go from there.
Totally.
Sweet.
Cool.
Right on. Well, yeah, thanks for popping in, guys. Fun chatting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talk to you later.
Have a
Talk
nice
to you
one.
later.